Welcome back. This is the third lesson recording for IM2, December 14th, 2020. So where we left off is that we're trying to figure out the length of x, and we got to x squared is equal to 153. Take a square root of both sides, and x becomes square root of 153, which can be simplified to 9 times 17. 153 is a multiple of 9 times 17. So therefore, square root of 9 is 3, multiplied by square root of 17 is 3 root 17. Okay, next problem. Write the equation that can be used to solve for x, then solve for x. What are we given? We're given an angle measure and two sides, one of which is unknown. That's what we're trying to figure out. Then in this case, we're given an angle and two sides. That means we can use one of the trig ratios. And this is the reference angle. From here, this is across from the reference angle. So this is my opposite. And x is across from hypotenuse. So this is across from my right angle. So this is my hypotenuse. So the trig ratio that deals with opposite and hypotenuse is going to be sine. So sine of 47 degrees is going to be opposite, which is 14 over x. So then from here, you are going to multiply both sides by x to bring the x to the top. That goes away. And then you're going to divide both sides by sine of 47. So this goes away and you're left with x is equal to 14 divided by sine of 47 degrees. And this is where you pull out your calculator. And if you use the calculator, you would get 64.2643. If the question asked you to round to the nearest one decimal, then you are cutting it off right here. But before you cut it off, you need to look at this digit, which is 6, which is 5 and above. That tells me that I need to round up the previous digit. So that becomes 64.3, rounded to the nearest one decimal place. Okay, next we have another angle with two side measures, one of which we do not know. So again, when you have an angle measure, then you are, and two sides, then you're looking at one of the trig ratios. So trig ratios will be, okay, so this is my reference angle, and this leg is right next to the reference angle. So this is my adjacent. And this is my across from the right angle, so this is my hypotenuse. So this is going to be, which is the trig ratio that deals with adjacent and hypotenuse? That's cosine. So cosine of 19 degrees is going to be adjacent, which is x, divided by 14. Now to figure out what x is, I just don't want this divided by 14, so I multiply both sides by 14. That cancels out. So x is 14 times cosine of 19. Pull out your calculator and you would get 13.2372 ... And again, if it was rounded to the one decimal place, this is one decimal place after the decimal point. So you're cutting it off here. Before we cut off, you need to consider the digit that comes after where we cut off. This is less than 5, 4 less, so that means we just leave it as it is. We do not round up, so that just becomes 13.2 rounded to the one decimal place. What about this one? We are given that this is a right angle triangle, but we are dealing with three sides. None of the angles are given, or none, we don't know anything. We do not need to know any of the angles, any of the other angles, I should say. So that means we can use Pythagorean theorem. The leg 1 squared plus leg 2 is equal to hypotenuse. The two legs are right adjacent to the right angle on either side. So that's going to be 5 squared plus the other leg is 7 squared is going to be equal to x is the hypotenuse. So that's going to be x squared. So 5 squared is 25. 7 squared is 49 is equal to x squared. So that's going to be 84 is equal to x squared. How do I get rid of the x squared? I need to take the square root of both sides, where the square and the square root symbol, they cancel each other, they undo each other. So you're left with x is equal to square root of 84. Now we need to always look to see, can I simplify square root of 84? Well, square 84 can be, I know that it is at the very least divisible by 4. So let's start with 4. That's going to be square root of 4 times, that's going to be 21. Okay, is 21 divisible by any perfect squares? That's like 4, 9, 16, and so on. It's not divisible by 4. It's not divisible by 9. 16 is just too big, right? So therefore, this is the simplest version. So square root of 4 is 2. Root 21 is my final answer. Okay, how about this? You're dealing with two sides and one given angle. So in this case, since we're given an angle and two sides, we're dealing with tangent. We're dealing with trig ratio, and this is my adjacent. X is my adjacent. Oops. So x is my adjacent and 12 is my opposite. So we are going to be calling tangent trig ratio. So that's opposite of adjacent. So tangent of 69 degrees, that's the angle that we're dealing with, is opposite, which is 12 divided by x. How do we go about that? We need to multiply both sides by x to bring the variable to the top, and then divide both sides by tangent of 69. So this cancels out, and you're left with x is equal to 12 divided by tangent of 69 degrees. Pull out your calculator. And you should get 4.6063 dot 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 dot. And if I was to ask to round it to 2 decimal places, let's say 2 decimal places, that means there is my decimal place point. That means go 2 digits after. And we look at this number, which is 6, which is greater than 5. That means I need to round up the digit. That becomes 4.60 rounded to the nearest 2 decimal places. Okay, this one, it's asking you to name the longest side and the shortest side, then solve for x. Well, I'm sorry, there is no x to find, so I am going to cross that out. Okay, so we just need to find the longer side and the shorter side. How do we know which is the longer side? Well, the longer side is going to be across from the largest angle. Find your largest angle, which is the 80 degrees, and it's across from, so this is going to be my longer side. So the longest side, we're referring to this side of the triangle. What notation can we use? It's going from the vertex E to vertex C, so we use 2 letters EC. That refers to the side length. Okay, what about the shorter side? Shorter side is going to be across from the smallest angle. Which is the smallest angle? 40, 60, 80. This is my smallest angle, which is the shortest. So this is going to be my shortest. And so we are referring to this side. How do we call that? We use the vertex CD. So shorter side is CD. Okay. Actually, to be precise, we need to use the correct notation. So we are referring to the side So we are going to use the side notation. If I do not have that bar, that means I am referring to the side length. If I have the bar on the top, that means I'm referring to the side. And the final question, write the equation that can be used to solve for x, then solve for x. Okay, so what do we know? We are given one angle, two angle, and a third angle. Well, we don't know any of the sides, the side lengths, so we can't use any of the trig function. We cannot use the Pythagorean theorem, but we do know the triangle angle sum. We know that any triangle, the interior angles must add up to 180 degrees. So we can set that up. So that's going to be 53 degrees. That's the first angle. Plus the second angle is 81. Plus the third angle is 56 plus x is 180 degrees. So then combine the like term. Always combine the like term within one side of the equal sign. And when I add these three numbers, I get 190 plus x is equal to 180 degrees. So x is just from here. Okay, so then I need to subtract 180 from both sides. So then you are left with x is equal to negative 10 degrees. Okay, and that's it for the review. Please come see me during study hall if you have any questions about any of the problems so far. Thank you for listening.